it's Sandra here from CREATEINSPAIN. Today I wanted to show you how to use the text function in Shortcuts a lot. People get confused about how to do things with text, so I just thought I'd do a bit of a guide. Now I'm using Shortcuts Lot 5 Pro as it happens, but that shouldn't make any great difference. And I use a Mac, so if you have any questions on the Windows side of things, don't ask me because I wouldn't have a clue. Okay, so the text is accessed by clicking on this T on the left hand side. Now if you click on the little triangle, you'll get various text options such as normal typing, vertical typing, type on path and type on arch. I want to keep it on normal typing for the moment. I'll show you the others later. On the right hand side, you click on this little button here with the capital and the small lowercase a, and you can access all the fonts on your computer. Now in View, I've got all selected, but you can have it set to favorites or just this project. This project is one that I generally don't use. It used to be Unreliable. I don't know what it's like now. At the moment, my font, as you can see, is Monaco. And if you have a font that you suddenly think, oh, I really love that font, I want to use it a lot, then click on the heart and you can add it to your favorites. If the font allows it, you have the option for bold, italic, and you can also reload your fonts with this little button here. And you can load a font file by clicking on this file link here. And you have your usual alignment options. Now this is where it starts to get interesting. On sizing, you have a fixed height, you have a standard, and you have a proportional height. So I'm just going to move that onto standard at the moment, which is what you would normally be using. So you have all the usual varieties of adjustments for your text. Now some of these will alter the width of your text or the distance between the lines of text that you're typing, where it actually starts, whether it's got a vertical offset, all those sorts of things. And then down here we have skew, and if I click on the other little arrow, we have rotate showing up as well. Notice I have these set to 0 because I don't want to skew anything or rotate anything at the moment. Now, if you're new to Shortcuts Lot and you're thinking, why is there a screen looking like that? Because mine doesn't. It's because I've simply zoomed into my map so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to just click on my mat and just type in hello. There we are. And that is what it would look like if I typed it in the standard manner. But watch what happens if I go on to here and I go fixed height. Everything suddenly becomes all the same height. Now this can be really useful, particularly if you are using a mix of lower and uppercase. If you want it to be all the same height, if you were doing that individually, it would be a pain in the neck, but that allows you to do it automatically. Now, if that makes your letters look a bit peculiar, then you can try the fixed height proportional, which will make them all the same height, but will adjust the proportions to that size as well. Now, some fonts react very well to this, and some fonts do not, and that just depends on the font, how it was made, and the type of font that it is. So if, for example, I put some more text in and I go for one of my favorites and just find one down here. Okay, an unfortunate event is one that comes to mind. So type in hello here. But this is on fixed height proportional. If I show you the standard one, you can see that they're not all on the same level, even as a standard font. So when you change this to fixed height, it's not going to work in the same way. And the fixed height proportional does that. It doesn't work with that kind of font. Now it works quite well with a lot of fonts, and it works very well with quite a few script fonts. And it certainly works with a lot of the more standard typing type fonts. but it's worth playing around with if you're trying to get your letters looking as if they're all one size. And your normal typeface does not do that. I'm just going to put this back to standard because otherwise it's going to confuse me when I next go to do some text, and get rid of that. So that's the basics of how the text works. Now, one thing which you may not have realised, I know it's quite fashionable to have sentiments where you mix up the type of fonts that you're using. So for example, I can type in hello. On the next line, I want to put darling, but I don't want it in the same font. So I can change the font here and just put in my darling. Okay, and that has gone to fixed height for some strange reason. Okay, let's select that and go for standard. There we go. Hello, darling. So you can change the font while you are still typing for your different letters or for different lines. It doesn't have to be on a new line. You can change it at any time that you want and start using a different font. So I'm just going to take this away. So the next one on this is, I think, vertical typing, which is fairly obvious. And type, oops, my letters are disappearing. Here we go. So it will automatically type vertically for you. After that one, we have the typing on a path tool. Now at the moment I don't have a path to type on, so I better draw one, hadn't I? And I'm just going to draw a, oops, let's undo that, on a slightly longer line. There we go. I have a path, a very wibbly wobbly path, but I have a path. Now if you want your path to be smoother than this, then go up to the path smoothing and you can select a higher number and you'll get a smoother path than that is. But I'm not demonstrating paths so much as demonstrating text to path. So I would then click on here and type in like so. Now this is somewhere where you might decide to go into the fonts and to alter the tracking, or indeed to skew a letter and do something else with it. Actually, I will do typing on a path for a shape. Okay, so if I come in here and I have something like that, and then I decide I want to type on the path, it will follow that shape as well. And you can just type as you wish, okay? Nothing very complicated. You can, however, alter the offset, so you can move it to wherever it is that you want it to start, okay? And move that back down to 0. To just type 0 in there. There we go. And let's get rid of that. And the last one is typing on an arch. Now up here you have the size of the radius of the arch that you want, the start angle, and whether you want the text on the outside or on the inside. So if I start typing now, my letters will automatically go on an arch. There we are, like so. If I decrease the radius, obviously it will curve around more. And if I alter the start angle, that will move it around. And if I put it to the inside, it will flip it that way. So there's an awful lot that you can do with your text. All right, now let's just put this back to normal typing. And I want to go for a script font. So now when I type in a script font, you can see that these letters are overlapping here. This one does not overlap. If I wanted to cut that out in one piece, I'd need to make sure that all the letters overlapped. What you do for that is you ungroup. Do not break apart, just ungroup. Ungrouping ungroups the letters. Breaking apart means that all these loops inside the letters are separate items, and that may not be what you want to actually do. So if I wanted to make this all one piece, I would move my H, probably not as much as that. So let's go to here and move it back slightly. No, just going to have to manually manipulate that one. Yeah, it's very close. There we go. And I would then select all of it, go to path and then union. And now if I zoom this out, you can see that it is all one cut. Now, one of the things that Shortcuts a lot has, which is really, really good, is the ability to take out extra nodes that you really don't want. And to do that, you go to Path and you go to Simplify. Now, quite often, when you've done something like this, you've joined a lot of things together, you'll find that there are an awful lot of nodes that can be removed. Now, in cutting language, that basically means you're going to get a smoother cut. If you can see on here and here that your design looks the same, that you're not skewing any shapes, everything looks fine, click on OK and you'll go from 116 to 58 nodes just on that one piece. Now, it may not make much difference if you're just cutting out one item, but if you're cutting out an awful lot of things in one go, a whole page of various cuts, that can make a big, big difference in the time that it takes to cut. But more importantly, what it can make a big difference to is the smoothness of the cut that you get. If you have a cut with so many nodes that, literally there are nodes all the way down a line, you can end up with a bit of a jerky result. Nodes like dot to dots in a children's colouring book. And you can see very easily if you go to the Path Simplify, you can actually click on Show Nodes and you can see where all these nodes are. Okay, so take a look at that picture, and now I'm going to go to Undo. Right, now I'm just going to put the Path Union on it and make it larger so you can see that's what we did before. Now go to the Simplify and Show Nodes. Now you see the difference between that and that, but the shape of the letters appears to be the same. I'm not going to notice any difference in my design, but I will definitely notice a difference in the way that it cuts. And this is something which Shortcuts a lot has that some other softwares don't, and I tend to use it quite a lot. A lot of my designs I make by adding one shape onto another shape, taking another shape away, adding another shape, maybe punching something out. And when you're doing that, you create a lot of nodes. And then at the end of the day, I try to remember, I don't always do it, but I try to remember to take the whole lot, Path Simplify, and take a whole load of nodes out. And it makes it so much easier for cutting purposes. It really does. And if you're using a pen in your holder just to draw the letters, it'll make it far, far quicker. So it's definitely worth doing. So that's how you actually make your cut all in one. Now, the other thing that a lot of people love to do, and I'm going to go back to my view and fit to window now. Okay. The other thing a lot of people love to do is they love to put words in frames. Now, this is relatively easy to do. I'm going to go for a rounded rectangle in this case. So all I'm going to do is get my rounded rectangle and work out what size I want it to be. And move it over to the left a little bit. I think that is probably a little bit too narrow, so I'm going to pull it out. Now when you're pulling out a shape in Shortcut Slot, if you just drag the arrow on the right, it will pull it out to the right, if you see what I mean. It'll make it bigger. And because I've done that, it's a little bit too wide. So you then want to tick, or untick I should say, the keep proportions. And then you can use that arrow to bring it up a little bit. Now if I wanted all those letters to attach, then I would have to move it up there. It's not the best example for that. But assuming I just want to make sure that it is attached, so it will cut in one piece, but it's not necessarily going to be a strong one. If you're just doing it in vinyl, it wouldn't make too much difference. So if I then go to that and I go to selection and I center it up, you can see that it can't go on the center because it's not going to be in the right place. So I need to move it to the left. That will probably catch everything, but it's a little bit too short still. So let's pull that out a little bit more. There we go. If I center it top to bottom, will I get a reasonable result? Well, it's going to join there, and it should join there, I think, but maybe not quite. So I'll put it down just a fraction. Okay, that would probably do it. Now what I would do is click on the hello and go to object and hide. So I'm not being confused by anything else on the screen. And then I'll go to effects, shadow layer, and you can either choose to have an outline or the full background color. It's up to you. Whatever shadow layer you want it to be. Click on OK. Select both of them, go to path, go to exclude. Now go to object and show all, and we have our hello in there. Select everything, go to path, go to union, and there you can see, particularly if I zoom out for you, that it is joined to the outside frame. Easy enough to do. Now if you really wanted to make that a lot easier, then you would have selected over here to make your typing a fixed height or fixed height proportional, if that particular font accepted that type of manipulation without pulling it out of shape completely. That would make it a lot easier to do. So let's get rid of this one. This time I am going to do my shape first. Just going to do a rectangle like so. And I'm going to do a shadow layer. And I'm going to do an inset one this time, why not? There we go. And now I'm going to go path exclude. You can go exclude or path back minus front, it makes no difference, it will have the same effect on it. Now I'm going to come in here and type my text. Go to hello, select my text, come in here and make it fixed height. Will that work? No, it looks a bit odd. So fixed height proportional, that doesn't work that well with that text. So I need to change the type of text that I'm using. Typewriter. There we go. And that is fixed height proportional. If I put it onto standard, it's like that. So the E and the O are smaller. If I put it onto fixed height, they are all the same height. Fixed height proportional gives me the best look. Okay. Now in this particular case, my letters are all separate. So what I have to do for this is to make all my letters touch all the sides if I want it to be completely as it should be. So in that case, I would have to click off on the side, keeping them proportional, and I would have to make my letters a lot longer. Now in reality, I would do my letters first and I would size my box to fit the letters. But suspending reality for a moment, all I need to do is go to Path and Union, make this line black again so we can see it. And then you can see exactly what the cut is going to do. Now, as it happens, it is joined there, it is joined there, and it is joined here as well. So I could cut that out in one piece as a final cut, or cutting card or anything else like that, and it would be all in one piece, nice and easy to remove from the mat. Now in Shortcuts a lot, you have two different ways of exporting this to cut with a Brother Scan and Cut. You can export to SVG or you can export to FCM. The choice is yours. If you export to FCM, if, for example, you had this all selected and you'd said, I want a pen to draw it, it will recognise in the machine that you've set it to a draw line. If you export it as an SVG, it does not give that information. It is simply a line. And it says, right, that's a cut line, off you go, cut. It doesn't tell it that it's a drawing line. Those are the main differences. I didn't cover the skew and the rotate, did I? Okay, right, let's put some text in here. Da-da-da. Come on, text. There we go. Now, if I come over here and I go to skew by whatever, it skews all these letters. You can actually flip them around the other way even. There we go. So that's a rather weird thing to do. I'm going to put 0.000 in there to stop it from skewing. And if we go to rotate, it will simply rotate the letters. So skewing is like a three-dimensional movement and the rotation is two-dimensional. You're just revolving it. And I'm going to put that back to 0.00. There we go. So the skew and the rotate in particular, I guess, would probably be handy if you were doing the text to path and your path was making your letters go all peculiar. The skew, I'm not sure quite what I would use that for, but you know, it's there if you need it. So that is it. That is pretty much, I think, text covered. I hope you found it useful and I will see you again soon. Take care now.